moved back in with my parents at 30 years old, and as much as I was and still am extremely grateful to them, I'll be lying if I said there wasn't a massive part of me that felt like a failure at the time. I'd left construction to chase my dream as a full-time online coach. I blinked and all of a sudden I was back at square one. As we all know, Instagram, YouTube, social media as a whole is a highlight reel. It shows our best sides, and I'm no different from that. My Instagram, 95% of the time, as much as I try to be transparent, it is my best sides. I feel like YouTube is more of an opportunity for me to talk through the downs, I guess, and not necessarily the negatives, but really talk through in detail about the process as a whole, from me going from construction to online coaching. And that's what I wanted to do in today's video, give you a background of how I've gone through that process, and the stickiness in the middle is probably the best way of describing it. So to give you some context, when I was younger, I was a personal trainer for a good few years. I loved the job itself, but I found that I wasn't happy with the instability of it. And I didn't really have much of a business brain on me back when I was younger. So I left that and said, right, I need to go get a trade and get a more stable income that I can really fall back on, like a qualification kind of thing. The next 3-4 years after that, I bounced between quite a few jobs in quick succession: tree surgery, aircon, plumbing. Didn't really find my groove. Eventually, I settled in construction doing lightning protection. So my older brother worked in lightning protection. I followed him into that and I settled there really well. 5-6 years, the job was very good. I genuinely had no complaints, really. The income was stable, the job itself was stable, the company I worked for was good. No complaints at all. But that in itself was the issue. So let me explain that, because it sounds a bit weird. I felt as though I got to the point where it felt a bit grey, you know. I was driving into London every day, doing the work, coming home, and I just didn't have that drive and that push, and I really wanted something else to focus on that I love doing. Like I said, I had no complaints. I was in a good place, but I wanted more, you know. So I said to myself, right, I've now got the qualification that I wanted. I've got that stability if I ever need to fall back on it. Now's the time for me to go and chase a passion and really push the online coaching. So I started my business. The following 6 months after that were difficult. I was doing days in London, getting up at 5, driving to London, coming back home again. I'd go to the gym, come back from the gym, and then spend the evening working on my business. So they were long days, but it's no sob story. I knew that was going to be a challenge. I knew that's what I wanted to do, and I was well aware of the sacrifices that I would have to make if I really wanted to make it work. So the 6 months were tricky. The following 3-4 months after that, from I would say November to February, were the first time in my life that I really experienced heavy stress and burnout. So the relationship I was in at the time ended, which then meant I had to sell the house we were living in at a time when mortgage rates were shooting up through the roof, and the house sale as a whole it wasn't a smooth process, you know. So now, on top of me working full-time construction, keeping myself in shape, trying to get the business going, this was right in its infancy as well when I needed to put time into it, dealing with all the ins and outs of a breakup and selling a house. There was a lot of fucking paperwork, I won't lie. It was the first time that I really experienced like a stressful period, and I had the support there. This is the stupid thing. I'm forever grateful for it. I've got a great family, very fortunately got a great family, got great mates around me. But as with most men at the time, I felt I was all right. I was like, nah, I'm fine. I'm good. I can just push through it. And it wasn't until it all finished, I kind of sat there and thought, Jesus Christ, that was a bit of a struggle, you know. Anyway, got through that, sold the house, and then moved back in my parents. And this was the point I mentioned at the start of the video. I sat there and I thought, I feel like a massive failure here. Like, 1 minute I've got a house and all the rest of it and a mortgage, and it felt as though I blinked and I'm back in the room that I grew up in. And I did really feel, as much as I had the support there, and I'm forever grateful for my parents, I did really feel at the time like a failure. But I've been brought up around optimism. This is the key thing. Whatever happens, there's always a positive to take. And at that point, I sat down and I thought, right, this is an opportunity. This is a really fortunate opportunity that I found myself in. I've now got the chance to really go for the online coaching. I'm absolutely blessed that I've now got no real mortgage and nothing to, not necessarily no responsibility, do you know what I mean? Like, nothing tying me down. It wasn't until I noticed that moment, obviously again from the help of my parents, I sat down and I said, right, I'm going to hand in my notice. and really go for the online coaching. Now, if I'm ever going to do it, now is the time for me to go for it. So I handed my notice in at work and went online coaching full time. The transition between being full time in construction to then going all in on my online coaching business, I found difficult, and it was really strange. So the construction gave me stability, it gave me security, it gave me the finances, and it felt safe, like it felt comfortable. The job was always there. I knew what I was going to get paid each month. It was just nice, but it was grey. Like I didn't have that passion and that drive, and I didn't get excited every morning to go to work. The online coaching was the complete opposite end of the scale. It didn't give me security, didn't give me stability, didn't give me the finances, but it was what I loved doing. It was my passion, and it's what I wanted to do day in, day out. And going from one end of the scale to the other so quickly, I found really difficult to adjust to. And the entire time, like any time the online coaching got difficult, there was a dip in the finances, or I didn't feel like there was confusion about what I needed to be doing because it's the first time I've run my own business. That whole time it was like devil on my shoulder, like the construction job. As much as it's a blessing in disguise, like I knew I had that safety net to fall back on, it's still in my ear saying, oh, you just come back to construction. I know it's not what you love doing, but you can make it work. You can just bumble through. But I knew deep down that was the wrong decision to make. And I had been very, very close in the past to jumping back over. But I'm thankful for myself for sticking at the online coaching, and pushing it as hard as I have done, and got to the point I'm at now. I'm by no means anywhere near where I want to be in life, but I'm miles and miles apart from where I was when I first sat in that chair in my old room thinking I felt like a failure, A huge part of my methods and what I coach is getting my clients to understand the importance of consistency, focusing on the small wins instead of trying to go for big leaps forwards towards like fat loss, say, for example. That applies, or I know now that applies to business as well. And as much as I coached it in my fitness business, I struggled to apply it to my own lifestyle with trying to progress the business as a whole. I think I was expecting things to just explode overnight, and of course that's not going to happen, and I know that now. But it did take me a little while to adjust to that and focus on doing the small things now that seem not necessarily insignificant but don't have much payoff, but they do have a huge effect going forward. So in terms of fitness coaching business, those small things is building better relationships, getting my clients better results, just being a better coach. Those small things don't feel any different day to day, but that's exactly what grows my business over a long period of time. And adjusting to that in the initial period was a bit of a challenge, but something I've definitely taken on board now, and something I'll continue to do for the rest of my life as a coach. I think this is the key point that I really want to get across in this video. As I said earlier, I'm by no means where I want to be in life with business and all the rest of it, and I love that side of knowing I've got a lot of progression to make. But I know firsthand through my own experience in the gym, training for 15 years, and now more in a business sense too, how important consistency is. And if you have the drive and you're passionate about something to go for it, and you're consistent enough with the small things, then the progress is right there to be made.